What is going on, guys? I have been sick for about 5 days, so I'm going to see if I can get some painting done between a nice big dose of Dayquil. That's kind of been my life this week, is alternating Dayquil and NyQuil. So we're going to go ahead and paint the mouth, probably, maybe the eye, or work on some of the eye of this guy. I don't know how long I'm going to paint for. Just going to try to get some painting done tonight while the meds are kicking in. But I think I just have a cold, so hopefully that's it. Basically, if you watch the primer video, I primed him with like a cheap Rust-Oleum type primer, and then I went ahead and tried out one of these mysterious washes I made a while back. It gave him like this really weird glossy look, but that's okay. Then I put some Blood Angels Red on the gums and in the mouth. And now I think we will approach it by basically painting the tongue, and then that'll somewhat finish the mouth. And then we'll work on the gums and the teeth. So I think for the tongue, we want to get it somewhat redder. Also, make sure if you're watching, jump in the chat. We could talk about gaming or whatever. And let's see what kind of color we want to do for the tongue. I think maybe we could just hit it with like one more wash. That might not be too bad. Maybe I'll hit it with the, let's see, what do we want to try? Shyish Purple, maybe? Yeah, why not? All right, we're going to hit it with contrast paint, Shyish Purple. First, I'll go ahead and use the little Necro paint pot holder. So we're going to do this one. No, we're not. That's not going to work. It's going to be too dark. I was going to do this one, but because that's going to make the tongue darker than the rest of the mouth, I think that would be a mistake. So, sorry, I'm delirious. We'll just hit it with the Flesh Tearers Red that we used on the rest of the mouth here. And then we'll highlight it into like sort of pinks. So this will give him sort of a red tongue, much like the gums are currently. Basically, inside these guys' mouths, on this model, you just kind of want it sort of dark and mysterious. You can't see it too well in there, so as long as it's sort of dark and out of the way, a little bit of highlight on the tongue, and that'll be good. All right, now let's go ahead and base coat some teeth. I've been working on my Bone Reapers. So you can see here's one. So I've been painting on these guys, and that's why I got all these kind of bone colors out here on the palette. And that's just what we're going to use for the teeth. I think right off the bat, I'll just mix up. Here, I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to get rid of this little cup and make a new one just so I can show you guys. So I take a little water bottle cap, put some AK Ultra Matte Varnish in your water bottle cap, and a little bit of distilled water. And you just stir that up with like a cheap brush. And that's kind of my Mix-All Flow Aid, Flow Improver, whatever I use on the palette when I'm mixing paints and stuff, or thinning them. So we need to make sort of a dark neutral. And I think we'll go up here where it's already sort of dark. Definitely take some black. That might be good. Oh, I forgot to put on my glasses. So, of course, I'm doing this live just so we can do some chatting if you guys want to chat it up a little bit while we're working here. Trying to get a little bit of painting done tonight. And then it's going to be a NyQuil early bedtime coma, sleep coma for me. Basically, I'm just going to be base coating the teeth in a sort of dark neutral color. And then we'll highlight them up. So we don't got to be overly careful here. Just try to make sure you get your dark color down. Also, let me know that you can hear me okay. And let me know in the chat or the comments if you're watching what you're working on. Tomorrow, or in about 12 hours or so, Warhammer Quest goes live on pre-order. So if you're looking to get one of those for your gaming group or your family, or just possibly flip on eBay, I think it's worth picking up. I think what I'm going to do is probably pick up just one. Keep it unopened. If the price skyrockets, I'll just flip it unopened. And if it doesn't skyrocket, I'll play it and then maybe just piece out the components individually and probably get most of the money back anyway. A lot of times with all those cool looking characters, you can separate the box. And actually, a lot of times with any GW box set, if you buy the box set and then piece it out, separate components, you can get, some money back. Sometimes even a good profit. When I make videos about doing that sort of thing, a lot of people give me thumbs down. And I don't think they understand that when you're making that profit, it's just to buy more miniatures. It's not like you're not putting it back into the pocket of the game companies. There we go. So he's got sort of a base coat on his teeth here. And because I got this random mix of browns and stuff available on the palette, I can sort of just quickly highlight all the teeth. This guy I will be selling once he's done. The last Beholder I painted actually sold for, I think, $100, 90 something, $95, $100, something like that. So these, if you can find them, have proven a pretty good miniature to think about painting and selling. So there we go, first highlight done. And I'll just sort of grab from any of these colors, as long as it's lighter than the previous color, and keep going here. This little tooth back here is kind of the only one I have to be somewhat accurate on. We're just going to keep going, just getting lighter every time and covering less of the teeth every time. So you can see there we got something going pretty decent. Let's go a little lighter. I think we'll leave that little tooth behind now. It's kind of tucked away in shadow anyway, so it doesn't need to be highlighted all the way up. Well, we'll check. Yeah, maybe this will be the last highlight that I'll get. There we go. Looking pretty good. And see if we can get a little bit of a lighter color going here on the palette. Just find one that's just a little bit lighter each time. And keep getting a little bit lighter. You can kind of change the color even a little bit, from bone, brownish colors, beige colors to gray colors. Even could go like in the gray blues or something if you wanted. And I think we can even go, looks like we got a little bit of kind of a off-white gray up there. Maybe even take a little bit of yellow into it. And sort of just brush that on over. And we might leave that as somewhat maybe the final highlight for now. I'm going to take some of this sort of pink. Well, it was a red. I'm mixing it with whatever this miscellaneous light color was. And we can sort of use this, clean up any tooth bone color we got on the tongue. And also highlighting the tongue a little bit here. There we go. So the tongue's just got a little bit of a highlight on it, just to give it just that little bit of interest for the viewer that, they see it. It's like, oh yeah, you painted the tongue as well. They didn't really do a whole lot, but yeah, I think for the actual gums themselves, see if we maybe can mix up something, sort of a flesh tone here. And just sort of hatch mark it over the raised areas of the gums, sort of highlighting it. Any part where maybe we got the tooth color, on the gum line. This would be where we could kind of cover that up. And then maybe we'll take a little bit of this orangish cadmium flesh tone, mix it in. And we'll give these little highlights. Give the bottom ones a little less highlight because they're kind of under on the lower part of the sphere, so they wouldn't be as bright. And you know what, maybe we'll even put a little bit of a wash on these, so that'll kind of blend it all together. There we go, got some gum line going. Hey, thank you for the thumbs up. I think a good rule of thumb for, say, an open eye like this, you probably want to go in sort of the red purple realm, maybe this color. Let me just get a bottle cap here and we'll make our own little wash. Sort of, maybe we go a little more red on that. Sort of get that that eye area. No, I don't want to flood it like I did, but get that kind of in a reddish tone. Carp Hunter. Hey, still paying 40K. Yeah, I got so let me set this guy down for a second since that eye's got to dry. Sorry, I've been sick this week. So I've been working on Age of Sigmar here. So I got an OCR Bone Reapers army I'm working on. So I think they're coming out really cool. While I have some motivation, I've been trying to knock out as many of these guys as I can. Just get some models done. Then I finished up Sabretooth and Wolverine for Marvel Crisis Protocol. So I thought they came out pretty good. And I got some more Protocol and some more Bone Reapers, and this guy will be for sale. But I also got another 6 of these guys that I just need to pick out. They, all the metal's basically done. And I just need to pick out like the skin and the armor plates. And even the bases are done. I kind of batch painted them to basically be playable. I have almost a whole painted AdMech army. So, and the AdMech are getting their codex soon. So I will be working on some of the AdMech stuff soon. But right now, sort of like the calm before the storm, waiting to see, waiting to see basically what, I guess, what AdMech units I'm going to want to be fielding or playing. And I got about maybe 3,000-4,000 points of painted AdMech. I'm not sure. Probably closer to 4 if you count the Imperial Knights. But who knows if the Imperial Knights will still be in the Codex. So I'll show you here. These are the Breachers and the Destroyers. The Breachers have more armor plates. But, so yeah, I got to do like the blue armor on the chest and stuff. And then these guys will have actually probably an orange glowing grav cannon. So I got quite a bit of AdMech. But yeah, I think once the AdMech codec comes out, my channel will probably have a lot of AdMech videos. unit reviews and stuff like that, just because I own a pretty large army for them. Sorry about that. All right, so I think we could go ahead and base coat the eyeball here. Sort of a good rule of thumb is you don't really ever want to go white on an eyeball, or else you end up looking like your models look like they're googly eye models, except for, or like cartoons, except for like the final white highlight. Looks like I'm picking up some of that red wash that's in there, which is actually fine because we'll just keep adding paint and we'll get almost like a natural blend, hopefully. And hopefully get that going a little lighter. This will sort of leave the kind of recessed areas of the eyeball darker, which an eyeball is a sphere, so that's exactly what it should be doing. Should be darker, not one solid color. Let's see if we can jump quite a bit to like a really light gray. Basically the final highlight of the teeth. It's not too bad. One thing on the other one of these I sold in the past, if you take some UV resin, you can kind of fill in this eyeball area and make it really glossy. I filled in this whole area. I'll do that to this one too when the time comes. I don't know what to do as the color of this guy. I was thinking maybe even like a flesh tone sort of thing. I didn't think I'd get this far this quickly tonight since I wasn't feeling super hot. But we already kind of did the mouth, and put another highlight on the teeth, I guess. Kind of a tap highlight. Something I do. And we'll bring that color up here into the eye and what I'm thinking is maybe a big green eye, sort of a red ball, and then like a green foresty base. Maybe something like that. What are you working on tonight, Carp? I got a little bit of green on the palette here. Let's see if it's still wet. Looks like it is wet enough. Let's just put that in. This sort of, what's it called? Iris. We can always go back and paint over it if we don't like it. Basically, I'm just thinking in terms of complementary colors. I get some black. I'll mix it with this miscellaneous dark color, whatever green was left on my base. And we'll go ahead and darken that pupil a little bit just for now. We can probably go basically pure black. LVO Buthman. Thank you so much. Yeah, hopefully you're working on something good. I got like a crazy head cold going this week, so most of the time I've actually just spent sleeping and napping. So it's been sort of nice last night, and tonight I felt like, you know what, maybe I could get a little bit of painting done. I'm going to take this red terracotta, and we'll just put it maybe here. Actually, no, that's pretty brown. Probably should have put that down here in the brown areas, but it'll be fine. Oh, I got quite a bit on my finger. I better be careful where I touch. I think maybe we'll mix some of this kind of darker maroon color with that color. Keep it pretty wet. And I guess we'll just paint the lower half of the sphere, I guess. You just think of him as he's basically just a ball. So if we just keep everything maybe down here darker, which is more or less covering up my initial primer color and my wash color that I kind of did. So not the best use of my color primer or my wash, because now I'm covering it. But, you know, sometimes you just don't get the result you wanted. Or it's just, you know, you change directions. Maybe it's just not looking like how you thought it was going to. So it's no big deal. One thing just to be careful of when you do paint over those cheap primers, you can see here the paint is kind of resisting, kind of aquaphobic or whatever it's called, going over that area. So if that's the case, just try to get a good, you know, little layer of paint on it, let it dry, and then you should be able to put the next coat of paint over it, no problem. So even if you have trouble with that first coat, just means you might have to do one extra coat. Way to avoid that would be if you just hit them with a like a varnish, like the matte varnish or something after the rattle can. And then you could just paint right over that. But it's nothing to worry about. So trying to just sort of darken his lower part. And actually, that doesn't even seem that dark to me. I think we can go much darker. Let's go much darker. Maybe we'll darken it with like a wash, but I'm going to go with this dark red. Oh, yeah, actually, he's in my closet, but I have that guy painted. He's got like two giant swords that are sitting on this base, or holding them both down to his feet, and he's holding their handles, right? I painted him a while ago. I felt like he came out pretty good, and I did like rusty kind of weathered knives. I actually have this Massive Darkness Minotaur that I will be painting up for selling on eBay. And I was working on him quite a bit, and then I just kind of stopped. I mean, more or less, I think he's almost done. I should probably finish him up just so I could get him listed and, put a little bit of basing on him. I actually have Massive Darkness 2 coming at some point. Yeah, it's weird on the I don't know, I guess I have like a head cold or something. But like one day I took a 5-hour nap, and then later that night I woke up a few times later that night when I was sleeping, but I slept for 10 more hours. So that's like 15 hours of sleep, which isn't ideal, I don't think. But I'm starting to feel a little better now that like today I didn't nap. Yesterday I only had an hour nap. So I think I'm kind of on the upswing, getting out of my sickness here, but who knows? I think I'm going to go with the Shyish Purple. This feels like a mistake, but maybe we can make it work. Let's try. I'm going to get a big, cheaper brush for this, because I know right now it's a mistake, but we're going to do it anyway. So I'm going to really load up like a whole big scoop of that. Then maybe like a whole big scoop of my water and medium. And then maybe hit it with like a drop of terracotta. See what we get. Do one more of those. All right, that looks dark. All right. Yeah, there we go. I like that better. So we sort of just made like a dark neutral kind of purple terracotta color, because we really want to push the shadow of the sphere here. I'll hit this bottom lip, but I think we'll actually be highlighting that. We won't leave it that dark. Oh, it's a little resistant. Sometimes too, when the paint's a little resistant, you can kind of blob it on and force it to sit there. There we go. So he's got, kind of looks like he has a little beard. Oh yeah, that elephant. Man, have you played Massive Darkness? We were playing a campaign one time, and that elephant flipped over the plate mail helmet. So he had like max defense dice, and the elephant naturally has the ability to not be crit. So he was unkillable. He had like 6 defense dice and it was like no special triggers on him. So we couldn't kill him, and he just beat the crap out of everybody. So I think now we can just use this miscellaneous dark goo that we created, and we'll take up a big scoop of that dark red. There we go. This feels... Like something's happening. All right, I don't love this. Oh well, we're going to keep going. We'll use this as some sort of transition color between our dark mix. And what we want to do is, I kind of wanted him to be somewhat like a brick red or maroon looking ball. We're not quite there yet. So we'll just keep working at it. Maybe we'll just go straight over to the maroon red and just sort of paint that right on top. See if we can't sort of push it and blend it around. I don't do a lot of it. I don't really like the way it looks that much. But if you do like an OSL effect, people love it. So if you're trying to sell models, like I'll be selling this guy, if I could squeeze in like an OSL effect somewhere, maybe on these eyes, it's usually a pretty popular thing. So maybe I'll try to do that somewhere. Maybe make like this eye glowing, like maybe just down the eyelid there, or maybe try to make these other eyes glowing. I don't know though. Sometimes you gotta weigh sort of speed versus dollars if you're painting for money. Now, when I paint for money, it's really just a side fun thing for me, but I do like to try to basically earn my rent on eBay alone. That way, with my Kickstarter paintbrush money and stuff, I can use that for other things. So yeah, we sort of got sort of a red ball now, darker underneath, sort of, lighter on top, sort of. Maybe we'll mix our reds a little bit, lighten this area up even more. Kind of, yeah, that kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Sort of make that lighter and brighter. Maybe put a little bit of that in here. So kind of, basically when you're looking at him from the top, when he's on the table, he's bright. Look at him straight on. He's got kind of that shadow going. Let me catch up on the chat. Is Massive Darkness 2 that long? I thought it was coming soon. Jeez, it's 2022. Maybe I should do the same. So I started playing Warhammer in 2nd edition 40K, and I think that would have been maybe 3rd edition Warhammer Fantasy. But I actually didn't care much about painting when I was younger. And then eventually I wanted to be an oil painter. So even during that time, I didn't put any effort into miniatures. I just wanted to be like an oil painter. So I still wouldn't have probably said I was, putting any serious work into it. But I think it's been like maybe six years now. At least 5, I would say, that I've been more putting more effort, trying to improve, trying to get better. Yeah, I've been after I backed Massive Darkness 2, and we played Massive Darkness 1 quite a bit, but never finished it. But I figured since I had Massive Darkness 2 coming, and I like painting models for eBay selling anyway, I've been occasionally grabbing one to pick up and paint. And really the only one I finished was the Barbarian. And I sold them for like $60. And the Massive Darkness, the board game itself, was only like 100. So to sell one character for $60 is super worth it. And then I got this guy who I think is like the cleric, just kind of base coated a little bit with some gold armor and primed. So I was going to paint him at some point, but I just haven't felt inspired to get him to going. And then these guys finally came back in stock at the local store. So I jumped on picking up one to paint. Got sort of a dilemma here. He's got somewhat of like flesh tissue here in the corners. And he's got this sort of eyelid. So you kind of have to decide what color the eyelid is. Since he's already red, the gums and the eyelid are now going to be similar. But I think that could be okay. I was thinking maybe I could take like I'll just show you real quick. I don't think it's going to look right, but I'll just rough it in. So on the eye there, the green eye, I was thinking could maybe sort of kind of put this sort of effect. Kind of like, I don't know, it's hard to see, but maybe like the eye was glowing a little bit. I don't know. I might not do that. I'll just sort of cover that up for now. But it's a possibility. I don't think it's a terrible idea. Yeah, I think maybe we can mix up maybe some of that orange in there and maybe some of this. I don't know if these are too bright, but we can tie them all together with some washes later. And I think I want to make them look somewhat interesting. So making them bright is a way to make them draw attention. Plus, following a sphere where the top is lighter than the bottom, this can kind of exaggerate that by being the absolute brightest, even though they're not a part of that same sphere. Oh, if anybody's enjoying the stream here, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. That helps out. People find the videos on YouTube. Although I did put COVID in the title, so maybe YouTube won't let anybody find this video. But that was sort of a joke on being sick here. Which I don't know. I mean, it could be. I've been sick for This is like day 5. But I really haven't had any of the major like coughing or any of those type of symptoms. So I think it's just a nasty sort of head cold I got going, which isn't super fun, but I feel safe. Oh, we got Sammy 3D in the building. Giant spiders, awesome. With ghost brushes, I heard those are the best ever. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. The Siege of the Small Folk Kickstarter just ended from TT Combat or Troll Trader, and I'm pretty sure the giant spiders unlocked right there at the end. So they have like giant spiders and spider swarms and a big giant tarantula, like gargantuan spider. So if you like spiders, maybe check that out and do a late pledge with them. I actually backed it for the whole halfling horde because I love those stupid little halfling miniatures. I don't know why I got the horde. I don't think I need that many, but oh well. I've mentioned in the past with their Kickstarters, you know, if you paint stuff and sell it, same with like Massive Darkness, you only have to paint a few things, sell them, and you pretty much cover the cost of your whole Kickstarter. Same with Massive Darkness 2. I think I did the all-in pledge, which I think had to have been like $400 or whatever it was. But I know as we play it, if I paint up some of those characters and I could sell them for 40, 50 bucks a pop, you don't have to sell that many to make your money back or break even at least. And then you start making money on the thing. So a lot of tentacles on this guy. Yeah, using the cheap primer for my cheap primer demonstration video wasn't the best for this guy because he's so much of kind of one color. You know, I'm basically doing a dark to light kind of red ball. I should have just airbrushed him. But I wanted to demonstrate, you know, using some of those new cheap primers with the ultra matte finish or the matte finish are, you know, decent for if you don't got an airbrush or whatever. Or if he's sometimes even with an airbrush, I just like to spray the spray can and quickly base coat some stuff. All right, so is this many tentacles, I'm sure I'm missing some areas. Plus, with the cheaper primers ability to be a little bit aquaphobic sometimes and push paint out of where you put it. You just got to be a little careful. Make sure you go back over some areas. Sort of the one thick coat approach. If your paint's thin and watery and it's moving it away because it's too glossy or whatever there, because it's the rattle can primer, or the fact that I used some weird ink wash I made. I don't even remember what's in that. Could have been anything. Could be just straight floor varnish. Yeah, I'm gonna try to actually have my brushes out super fast. Hopefully I'm feeling better by tomorrow. And then Saturday, Sunday, I'm already going to start trying to get things ready for the classic brushes to start shipping so I can get all those out. And I believe the factories have started production on the products for me. I've definitely deposited money to them. So I don't know what their queue is like, but I think they've already started. And once those are produced, I imagine it takes maybe 20, 30 days to sail on over. And then I'm going to start hiring friends right away to help me ship everything out. So I would really like to be done shipping everything before September. I think I put November as my goal because that's about what it took last time. But another awesome benefit is this Kickstarter, even though it was my most successful one yet financially, it actually it was about maybe like 1,000 less people, which means 1,000 less packages I got to ship, which is huge because that's a lot of work. I'm going to take this AK Black here and just, I don't know if I have to thin this right. Maybe I will. A little bit of water. Why not? I'll take the big brush out. I actually just go ahead and prime the flying stand on this guy. It comes clear. But honestly, clear plastic is not invisible. So I don't really, I don't worry about masking it off and keeping it clear. I just prime straight over it. And now I'm going to paint it black. I don't like clear bases either on miniatures. I'd rather paint the base. But part of this, I think, is just easier. Just spray it when you prime the miniature and paint it black, and there you go. It's out of the way. Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and... This might be a pain in the butt now to hold it for a little bit while this dries, but since I put too much black in my little cup here, I guess I'm painting this base black too. I'm going to switch to an even cheaper brush. A super cheap beat up brush. I'll put a little bit more water into that. Got this big honking cheapo brush. Turn this into somewhat of like a black wash. And we'll kind of black wash our base here. This will be somewhat of like a forest floor when it's done, so it will be probably brown and green, but some of these rocks, having them kind of base coated black, not a bad idea, because then we could just quickly dry brush them with some kind of gray colors, get a pretty effective rock look. One thing when you're painting something to sell, you don't have to do anything too grueling, hitting extra details and stuff. You just got to make it look pretty good. Worth the money for somebody to buy it and love it and use it in their games or put it on their shelf. I have Rumble Slam. I have the clown team painted up. The what are they? Like the jester guys. They all have like face mask and like fuzzy collars. Yeah, I actually haven't played Rumble Slam, but me and my buddy were painting our team for Adepticon, and we were going to play Rumble Slam at Adepticon, and then that ended up getting canceled, of course. But so I never actually got to play, but I do have a painted Rumble Slam team, and I got the because I got the starter set. I got an MDF Stadium or whatever, a ring. So I got the Halfling Rumble Slam team from the last Halfling Kickstarter I did, or one of the Halfling. I don't know. They keep doing these Halfling Kickstarters, and I keep backing them. So I guess that's my relationship with TT Combat is if they keep making Halflings, I guess I'll keep buying them because I like them. I don't know what I'm going to do with all of them. I've been painting and selling some of them, but you end up with so many, I don't know what to do with all of them. The first time I went to Adepticon, I had a chance to play Rumble Slam, just a demo with the guys there. So I did get to play a demo, and it was fun. It seemed kind of simple and fun. And then the next time we were going to Adepticon, and I bought a bunch of characters to paint and stuff because they're cool. And then the next time we were going, figured it would be a fun game for like a convention, not overly stressful, like a big 40K tournament or something. You don't got to bring a lot. Another way I could maybe achieve like an OSL is maybe just paint this eye like a bright green and then maybe just airbrush blast like a bright green onto each one of these eyeballs. I might do that just for funsies. I'm going to do that. Not in this video because I won't get to that yet. But I'll base coat them here, which is this sort of dark gray. So yeah, we'll paint this eye like a bright green, and then we'll sort of sell the illusion that this eye's powering all these little eyes. So they're all glowing with the energy. I think that'll look cool. Hey, we got 5 people watching. Make sure you jump in the chat, guys. We're all just hanging out, talking hobby. Let me get these eyes base coated real quick, and then I'll check back on the chat there. Yeah, I think I could hit all these eyes with the airbrush. Not have to worry too much about overspray or anything. Just that one back there maybe is a little off, but that'd be cool. I'll put a little bit of more white on the palette here. My white got pretty mucky. I love this white. If you see it, Rotten White, Vallejo Game Effects. Laser in the building. What's going on? Yeah, if you see this Rotten White Game Effects, you should pick it up. I don't know what the effect is. I think it's just a thick white. Should just say thick white. I mean, it seems thicker than normal hobby paint. And it's really, really nice on the wet palette for mixing and lightening colors. It's also a good white to dry brush with. put in, still not quite pure white, but a much closer to white highlight there on the eye. That way we can still leave the room for like a pure white dot for the highlight of the eye. And actually, we'll go ahead and just tap on a few little of this really kind of off-white lights on our teeth here. Give them one more little sparkle. There's a little color here I'm not totally convinced with. And even here, I think that should probably be dark. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure. This should probably be highlighted. Somewhat, but it's kind of weird because I'm highlighting it the same as the gums, so it's just not. I don't think it's bad looking, but I don't think it's correct. I don't think that's what it should be. So he's looking pretty cool. I think honestly, if I put this, I'll do this on the teeth and mouth and stuff, and that'll really darken all that up. Are you talking about my other video where I was doing the airbrush sounds for the for the paint primer? Sometimes people don't know, you know, you gotta make the sounds for them. I guess these spikes should probably be something. Maybe they'll be like a bone color too. So let's start base coating those, I guess. You know, I'm not going to base coat them yet. I'll finish this one just because I started it. But I still think there's probably some dry brush. I think if I actually kind of hit this guy's scales with a dry brush, that could kind of just tie it all together. And if I do that, it's going to get all over the spikes. So we should do the spikes after the dry brush. So we'll probably bring out a nice piece of cardboard here. Yeah, the airbrushes are pretty cheap. If you just start, I started with just like the cake decorating airbrush, like the full on, you know, mini compressor Chinese cake decorating airbrush. I think it was $40 maybe. And I think that's actually honestly pretty good for if you're doing just priming and base coating. And that's about all I do with my airbrush. I don't really use it for all that much. I have my PSI cranked up to like, I don't know, 40 something. And I just let it go, blast away. That's my strategy. All right, I'm looking around here for maybe a color that's going to be decent to dry brush with. seeing what I got. I don't know. Sort of think this color here, Tuscarora Fur, wouldn't be a terrible one to kind of dry brush. So it's not really that red, but it's also an air paint, which generally they're so thin, they just smear. They don't really make a great dry brush. Trying to figure out, just looking around if I got something else. I got my favorite paint, Bugman's Glow. Maybe. If I wanted, I could go with a really light dry brush of this German orange. That's maybe not a bad idea. These model colors are pretty good for dry brush. All right, let's try. I'm going to shake it up really good here. I'm going to go ahead and do German orange. Get the big 2D dry brush. Put a nice big, way too much paint on my piece of cardboard. Let's see if we can't mess up our model. I'm gonna really stir it in here. Let's see. It's not bad. All right. Guess we'll find out. Try to do a sort of light touch here. You know, I went with the 2D Ghost Dry Brush here, available on eBay, links below. Probably could have went with the one. This might be bigger than we need. But it holds a lot of paint, so that's not bad. But some of these areas are a little tricky. Trying to drag it down the sides here a little bit. All right. Wow, we put way too much paint on this piece of cardboard. I kind of got that kind of done in one little swoop. I don't know what I was thinking. There's so much paint. A lot of waste there. Let's go ahead and dry brush our tentacles too here. Looks like we got quite a bit more paint on our brush this time. That's okay. Cool, cool. All right. Take a moment here to got an old cut up sock. So when I clean my dry brush, I'll really try to scrub it because it holds a lot of paint. But on a paper towel or a t-shirt or something, or an old sock. Basically any old clothing gets washed and then cut up and turned into some sort of paint rag before it is eventually thrown in the garbage. That's kind of my life cycle as a miniature painter here. All right, so it looks like it's clean enough. Might be some in there. I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to take this really cheap brush. Don't know where I want to put this, though. I'm going to scoop up this. Yeah, we'll put it up here. Because it's definitely going to just dry and be wasted there. But if it's up here on the wet palette, maybe it'll get used or stay wet a little longer. Actually, I don't even know how wet my wet palette is. Let's check. Not very wet. There we go. That's better. And get this cardboard out of the way. Yeah, I think with the kind of more cylinder shape, they hold a lot of paint. So it's a downside because they hold a lot of water too. So once they get wet, you can't really dry brush with them until they're completely dry again. But you can do some cool like stippling effects and kind of over blending type stuff. But yeah, you can really load them up with a lot of paint for a dry brush. Still probably not quite big enough for like terrain. They do work on terrain, but I feel like on terrain you might want to go all the way up to like a 1/2 inch or 1 inch brush. Yeah, German orange. I guess it's the rosy cheeks of the Germans. I don't know. Well, I'm pretty white and I'm German Italian, so I guess that makes sense. So yeah, that kind of tied him together really pretty good. Now I guess we mix up our sort of dark gray color here and start picking out spikes. Any areas that were sort of, I think the word is aquaphobic. I don't know. I keep saying it, so I hope it's a word. But the areas that are kind of repelling the paint now between washes and dry brushes and paint layers should be all pretty much covered. So I shouldn't have to worry about it too much. But there may still be some on these spikes because the spikes haven't been totally hit with a lot of paint. You can see here, like these really bright pink areas are areas where it kind of pushed the paint away. Oh yeah, it's still doing it. So we'll probably just have to try to put some paint on it and then let it dry and then do it again. Downside of saving money with the rattle can. On these spikes, I want to paint them quick, just with like instincts of, oh, they're just big spikes, so I can paint them quick. But I think that's a trap because I don't want to have to repaint much of the skin around the spikes. So I should probably slow down a touch here and be a little more careful. I need like more paint over here. Yeah, there we go. We need like a thicker paint just to get these covered in like a one brush stroke. So when this guy's done, I'll probably try to get, like $100 for him. Maybe more. I might put him up 150 or pie in the sky type number. I'll see what the other ones are listed as and how I, compare what I think mine looks like to the others. If I think it's good or better or worse than what's up there. But I don't mind painting models to sell and then holding on to them for a few months because they just sit on my shelf and look cool while they're there until they eventually sell. I'll eventually, lower the price a little bit here and there until finally somebody scoops it up. But it's kind of a, you get to display your work at home on your shelf, but my shelf is sort of my active eBay listed painting shelf. And sometimes I finish models and I just put them up there too, and I never list them on eBay, or not for a while, just because I like looking at them or whatever. Not too often, though. I'm kind of one of those people where everything I have is for sale, except maybe like my armies. I have a fully painted AdMech army and a bunch more units that I'm going to add to it. No intention of selling it, but if somebody was going to offer me like double the full retail cost, which I think would be like $6,000 or whatever it would turn out to be, I'd probably sell it. As long as I think if I was selling all my armies though, the AdMech would be the last one I would sell because I like playing it. I like the way it looks. And it's mostly fully painted. So when I paint something for it, I'm just adding some new units or, 3 more of this. Maybe I already have 3 or 6 of something. Maybe I want to have 9 of it. So I'm just adding. Paint scheme's real quick, low stress. So they'd probably be the last ones I would sell. So I don't think I would sell. Well, I don't know. I'm confusing myself. I was just thinking about it. If I sold all my 40K armies, I would probably start buying a Sisters of Battle army. Like if I was going to start fresh, I think a Sisters of Battle army would be cool. I think I do have the army painter. I think I'm both. War paints mixing medium and quick shade wash medium. I don't use them anymore. Really, I still have them both. Sometimes I'll just dump them into a random wash cup just cause and just eventually throw them away. But I just use like Flow Improver and the Ultra Matte Varnish and water, maybe airbrush thinner. Oh, or I have like the contrast medium or Lamium medium too, but I don't use those a lot. Yeah, for real. There's I have so much stuff as well. People outside of the hobby, they'd have no idea what they're throwing away or giving away. Definitely could pay for somebody's college or whatever, if not maybe buy them a house, put a down payment on a house. But part of it too is like, people in the hobby are always looking out for deals and trading and bartering. And so even though the actual retail value of this stuff is insane, I think most of us have huge collections of stuff but didn't pay retail for all of it. At least I feel like that's probably the case. Always all kinds of trading and dealing and stuff going on in Warhammer. Painting all these spikes taking a lot more time than I was hoping for. Especially because the spikes somehow managed to avoid getting the wash on them. So now they're resisting getting the paint on them. So I keep having to go over the same areas. And I keep thinking this model is I'm just painting it to sell it. Yeah. But I'll do a good job. Because that way, if somebody buys it and they like it, maybe they come back and buy another one. I've done videos on the topic, but I really think just painting whatever you want and putting it on eBay for whatever price you want, and then maybe adjusting it to whatever price you could get, is a better way to do painting commissions than just take commissions. Because this way you get to paint whatever you want. You're not struggling to get like a Space Marine army painted for somebody. If you're not in the mood to paint Space Marines, you don't have to. But a traditional commission painter would, they have to paint whatever project they accepted to paint. Oh, totally missed this one over here. All right, I think we're pretty good there. Nope, missed this one here. These spikes don't have to be super detailed or anything. I think they're fine with maybe just a little bit of a highlight we'll give them. And I think we'll just go in with maybe pull this kind of gray down here into this bone color area. Maybe there's some, I don't know if this yellow's kind of dried up, but there we go. Sort of just a bone gray. try to sort of rough in a kind of overbrush highlight on just the top of each one of these. And we'll take this all the way down to the lower ones as well. But on the next highlight, I think I'll just hit this sort of top half. Leave those lower spikes in the shadow. I'm going to try to wipe off most of that. These ones down here are really, really underneath, so we don't want to give them too much highlight. There we go, just a little bit. That's fine. And I think we'll just pull that down somewhat into these lighter colors. Sean Blake, what's going on? Thank you. Yeah, we're just painting up the little beholder here. And this kind of highlight, we're just going to rough in on sort of just the topmost spikes. Kind of ignoring the lower ones, so it's kind of like those ones on this half of the circle have more highlight than these ones on the bottom. I guess I should turn it. So the bottom half of the circle has less highlights than the top half of the circle. That's the idea. And I think those spikes are actually, I wouldn't mind putting a little bit there. Yeah, I think those spikes are pretty reasonable. I don't want them to be as light as the teeth, because I want the teeth to be, the teeth in the eye here be the main focus. And I think we'll probably just put that panel liner into the mouth around the teeth and stuff, and then maybe call it a night, because I think it's about time for me to chug some NyQuil and hopefully wake up for the Warhammer Quest pre-order. Token all night. What's going on? Oh, I didn't see. Hold on. Let me catch up on the chat. I think I'm behind for you guys. Here, I'll tip him over so you can see him better. I think I left you guys behind on the chat for a second. I was getting too much in the zone painting all those spikes. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Token. I see. Wow, I'm way behind. Okay, let's see. Quick Shade Medium. I have the Quick Shade Medium, but I haven't used it in a while. Okay, so just buy them to my brushes and send it off. I don't know what that was for. Spikes looked up. Thank you so much, Sammy. Yeah, I think they're, I mean, it was pretty quick, just kind of a base coat, slap on a little bit of a highlight. One thing with the wet palette, the Masterson's wet palette, it comes with this kind of thicker palette paper. A lot of painters, if you've seen them, they so this is kind of a thicker palette paper. It's the one it comes with. I'm sure if you've seen other painter, hold on, let me get like other painters will use paint that looks like this, like droplets of paint. See how you pull it away and it kind of forms a droplet and then pulls back together. And that's what their wet palette looks like. And this is good. They do like these really thin glaze colors. And sometimes they paint with like a hair dryer and have to dry these thin layers and blah, blah, blah. This here is sort of like an oil painter's palette where the paints are more like creamy, is about the only way I could describe it. It's like a creaminess to it, like sour cream or something like that. Heavy whipping cream, whole milk. Not exactly whole milk because it's not going to run if I tilt it. But anyway, it's got this kind of creamy texture. So when I'm doing that, with that texture, I can kind of thin it down and I can just sort of brush it over quickly over these areas. And it has somewhat of it's not a wet blend. It's not a thin, transparent layer, but I don't know, has kind of a blend quality to it. It reminds me of oil painting a lot. So I think that's, for something like these spikes, you can do them really fast. Enough interest to make them, somewhat interesting on the model. Fun to look at, but they didn't take a lot of time. All right, token all night. Finally figured out how to change my name in here after, a decade. And also this week had to change my name on Kickstarter. I figured, what was your name before? Yeah. I usually turn off the offer feature on eBay. I like to control what people see as my price. I don't want them to see $100 and then think they can offer $30. You can also set like the minimum offer you'll even see. So if you have a $100 price tag, you could set like automatically decline anything under 70. So that's not a bad way to do it. Next time I need to know what it's about that black gloves for today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I just wear the black gloves for the stream. I don't actually wear these when I paint. I just do it on camera because I think it makes it, when I'm holding the model and stuff, it's just easier to see what I'm working on. So the black gloves are just for you guys right there. If I wasn't on camera, I would not have them on because my hands are sweating inside them. Almost done with Kingdom Hearts Talisman, working on Aqua now. And then all I have left are the main characters. I don't know what that game is. I'll have to look it up. Sean Blake, thank you so much. The Beholder. I think you just called it Beholder. I think there's like a named one in Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't know. Xandar or something like that. Zoltan. This is the Masterson Stay Wet palette. Oh, lasers now token all night. All right. Parker McBride. Oh, you're like the OG on Kickstarter. You're one of my very first backers, I think. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I always see your name. If you change your name on Kickstarter, I'm not going to remember it now. Yeah, actually, I happen to have a second one right here. So this is what you look for at the store. It's at Michael's. You can probably get it on Blick or jerry'sartorama.com, maybe even Amazon. And you can buy extra papers separate. Stay Wet, but with no Y. Masterson's. It's the brand. And there it is. It comes with a sponge. I think a couple papers come in here. And if you get it out like a Michael's or something, I think it's like $12, and you use, that 40% off coupon. Maybe it's $16, and then with the 40% off coupon, it's like $10 or something. I actually bought that second one because I was gonna do a metallic wet palette and then a non-metallic wet palette, but then I realized I have no reason to have a metallic wet palette. So that one might turn into possibly, for example, this palette I'm using right now is covered in all of the bone colors that I've been using on my OCR Bone Reapers. So because of that, it's got just so much bone color. Because I've been trying to really get a lot of these guys painted up. I've been working on them. And now when I try to do something else, I'm kind of squished off to the side because kind of in the center here was a lot of my different bone mixtures. Now I use that bone colors on his teeth and stuff, but yeah, the blues are like the blue armor for the OCR Bone Reapers, the dark bones and different bones where, they're made of bone. And some of these orange and reds were some of the glowing effects stuff that I was doing. So it was working really well for them. But now, like switching to this guy, I've started to cover up colors that I was using on them. So that could be a reason to have two. I don't really think I need two, but I do own two. So yeah, maybe one could be like, for the current army project, and then one for like the single one-off miniature streams or something. Oh, it's a video game franchise. Oh, is Talisman like Warhammer Quest or? I think I remember Talisman. I never played Kingdom Hearts. I'm not really up to date on video games at all. The only video game I really played in the last probably 5 years, 10, maybe 6, 7 years, the only video game I've played is like Blood Bowl 2 and Dota 2. And I love Dota 2 so much that I actually can't have it on my computer because I'll play it and I won't get any painting done. So I just don't keep it around. Basically, I've quit all video games because it's more productive for me if I paint. Plus, if I was a streamer for video games, I could make money playing video games, but basically I'm not, so it would just be a complete waste of time. Getting good at a video game is no value to me whatsoever. But getting good at painting, I could paint and sell stuff, or maybe get more YouTube subscribers or Patreon subscribers or Instagram followers or backers on my Kickstarter products, or sell more paintbrushes. So it's definitely more valuable for me to just paint instead of play video games. So I'm going to take this panel liner and just go ahead and darken in his mouth here. And then that'll be it for the night. This will give his gums kind of a darker, shadowy, shiny look. Plus, in between the teeth, we want that really dark, just so there's some good separation. Also, where the gums and teeth meet, would like that to have a really kind of dark, dirty shadow. Maybe we'll even get it up in these corners because I don't know what this is supposed to be. It's kind of under his eyelid, but it's also in his mouth because the lip is kind of coming here. I don't know what it is. We'll hit the gums down here. This is so in shadow, I kind of ignored it. I think we're going to go ahead and keep it that way. And then we'll hit it just where the gums and teeth meet. There we go. Probably just have to go in with a brush. I see some little light spots. We'll go in with just a dark color. Try to match this sort of dark shadow color. Just kind of blot in that. Possibly not a bad idea to use this panel liner around the areas where the horns meet the skin. Like in here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. That's going to look better. Basically where these spikes or whatever they are sticking out of the skin will create like a cast shadow. Also helps sell our little spikes a little better since we didn't do, a ton of detailing on the highlighting or anything of them. So this helps give them just another touch of shadow. And we'll let it bleed wherever it feels like going, because who cares? And the glossiness of this panel liner will go away once we matte coat the model when we're done. Oop, that's a big drop. Ooh. Got to be careful not to put a huge drop on, or it's going to completely just find its way all the way down all the scales down the side of the model. Which, I mean, I guess it's not that big of a deal. It'll just turn into miscellaneous shadow. There we go. Oh, we got this one spike up here is like the one that always I forget about. All right, there we go. So we got just that panel liner around the mouth. And the spikes really deepens that shadow. And you know what? I'm going to put it around his eye too. Because I really want to darken in the eyeball here. We'll actually, big drop. Darken in the eye. We'll get that the pupil. That way when we go back in and highlight and do the finishing touches on the eye, we have some even darker shadows to pull our lights out of. Maybe even put some on the sides of the mouth here. But we don't got to do the whole thing. It's not necessary. So there we go. Now he's got this grimy, shadowy look to him. And we'll let that dry. That doesn't dry as dark as it looks right now. And I think basically I just finished the eye, finished these eyes, maybe some highlights or the kind of eyelids of these tentacles, fix little areas that were kind of repelling the paint, do the base, sell them on eBay for $100, good to go. Maybe, if we sell them. Not, we will sell them, but will I get $100? I don't know. How much is the palette on Amazon there? $18. Yeah, so that's probably about exactly what it is at Michael's, and then you use like the 40% off coupon, and it's about $12, I guess. You could take like your shadow or wash color and hit the base of these kind of eye stalks, whatever they are, tentacles. But I think they are fine the way they are because I have so much darkness underneath. If you look at him from below, he's really dark. Besides a few areas I have to fix with some paint. And then above, he's light. So on the table, he has hopefully a kind of glowing effect look. And I think I may actually go ahead and try like a glowing eye stock thing, just because what the heck, he's just going to go for sale anyway. All right, guys, I think that is my stream for tonight. Make sure you like and subscribe. So I've never had to change the sponge. So I don't know if you need that many sponges. It comes with one. So you could even skip buying extra sponges. It did get mold on it one time in the probably 5 years or so I've had it. And what I did is I cleaned it all out, soaked it in bleach and whatever, heavy cleaning materials, the lid, the thing, the sponge, let that soak for a day, then really rinsed it all out with water and then set it back up. And it hasn't got mold again. I'll show you here. I don't know if this 100% works. So you see, here's my sponge. It's got, paint gets on it and gets stained. But under the sponge, I also put pennies. So whatever your cleanest, shiniest, newest pennies are. And I do believe copper is anti-mold or antifungal or antimicrobial or whatever it is. So having copper underneath, I think, also helps prevent mold getting in here, even though it's never gets cleaned. It's always wet. Same paper is being used for months, pretty much. I hardly ever change the paper. You can tell. I mean, the papers, I'm making this one sheet of paper last, and I'll keep it for a long time, until it's completely, dried up. But you can reactivate paints pretty good on it. Has a pretty good seal. And then what I do, I keep a jug of distilled water. So, 89 cents or whatever, distilled water. And I always use distilled water in my little squeeze bottle here. So put the distilled water in the little squeeze bottle, and the little squeeze bottle is what I use to wet this sponge. So I'm always using distilled water on the sponge, not counting, when I rinse my brush off in the cup over there and use it on here, but just for re-wetting the sponge or initially soaking the sponge, I use distilled water. And it's just a few things like that I think help prevent any kind of mold or getting like a weird smell or whatever coming in your wet palette. So yeah, I think those are some good tips. Hopefully you enjoy the wet palette next week when you get it. Thank you so much I hope I feel better tomorrow too. Like I said, yesterday or last night and then today have been better than earlier in the week. So I do think hopefully tomorrow is even better. I did have to cancel my game of Age of Sigmar and cancel my, tell all my buddies at the game store I won't be there tomorrow because just in case I don't have just a cold, or even if I do have just a cold, nobody wants to catch a cold. So I'm not going to go see anybody to hang out with tomorrow. So maybe I'll get another stream going if I'm feeling good. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, check out my eBay store, Ghost Brushes. Check out the links. If you want to buy something on Amazon, I got affiliate links below for the US. And I appreciate it. We had a good time tonight. See you all in the next one.